and welcome to the August 2024 version of the monthly market update hosted by Kingdom Focus Financial. Our hosts today are Michael Smith and Chuck Etzweiler. Take it away.
Hey, thanks, Derek. I appreciate you being here. And Chuck, good to see you, my friend.
Same thing here,
I'm
Mike.
excited about this month's monthly update for our clients because we're kind of right in the dog days of summer, right? At least here in Pennsylvania, where I'm sitting currently, it's been hot and it's been dry. And I know some people love that, but many people don't. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of the market, right? It doesn't like the summer either, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to continue on today in our theme for this year. So looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the US dollar today as we dive in. Let me remind everyone that we are um, only presenting our ideas and our thoughts, right? And our compliance folks want to make sure that you're keeping that in perspective. You're using your own judgment on certain pieces and recognize that anything related to your individual portfolios, give us a call to talk to you. The information today is more generic in relation to the overall market and the economy. That leads us right into just kind of touching base with where we're at. And Chuck, I always love this statistic. You've heard me talk about this before. Explain what we're looking at here.
Sure, Michael, and thanks. It's great to be with you here. 96 years. That's going all the way back to 1928. What statisticians have done is they've looked at each month of the year and they've quantified the average monthly rate of return. So anything above the baseline 0 is in blue and red is a negative return. So you can see May, we've heard that old saying, sell in May and go away, although we don't subscribe to that. There is some historical data. Look at July, Michael. That's the date that we're recording this, right? July 31st. Greatest month, of the year on average. And August, although positive, starts when look at that September. So September tends to be a struggle for various reasons, as you just said. But the good news is what? Right? We're going to get to the good news, hopefully. Look at this chart too, Michael. I love what this shows because it splits the various indices. We go all the way back to 1896 for the first column, the Dow Jones Industrial, 1928 for the S&P, which we just looked at. The NASDAQ was developed in 1971. Of course, the Russell 2000, which are small cap stocks. They all follow the same pattern. And Michael, look at August, September, and October for small caps. Boy, they just get hammered. And we will probably see that happen here as we walk through August and September across the board, no matter what the market cap is.
Yeah, and I think this is very telling. And most of our clients have heard this from me multiple times over the years. This isn't anything new. This is normal cyclical behavior in the market. And we get past this wonderful month of July, which a lot of people raise their eyebrows when I tell them July is a really good month because that sell and may go away mentality is really prevalent. But this is telling in that it's not just a sector of the market. It's just a general law that seems to happen. It starts to tick down in August and kind of rolls all the way down to the bottom of the hill. Although not too far in statistics, I mean, you're looking at 1%, right, on an average, which isn't horrible overall. But certainly, that small cap market has a period that's a little more consistent, more of a U versus the up and down seesaw shape of the other indices that are on here. Certainly sounds like a time for people to cry a little bit about what they might see on their statements and their portfolios, huh?
You got it. And here we have Neil Diamond. I think most of our investors know who he is. He wrote this song called September Morn. It was about the time of day. So morning, MORN. But we like to put a little twist on it, Michael, MOURN, mourning as in lamenting. So maybe people can remember Neil Diamond in the song and remember the fact that maybe September may not be the best month as we walk into that part towards the end of the summer.
And also, I think important to recognize, okay, the market will have its cycles, and it doesn't mean we exit or move or make big changes. It's part of the normal expectations we build in when we build those portfolios. So if the summer is a little hot for you, wherever you're at this year, spend a little extra time by the pool and a little less time looking at your statements that may come in online or in the mail, and know that the end of the year is coming. I'm actually going to back up a little bit, Chuck, because I want you to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about November, December down there, because it's coming.
It is. That's for done, but there's some good news here. It is. And historically, post September and really October, if you're talking large caps and growth stocks, boy, they pick up steam. We then get to the Christmas, the Thanksgiving holiday, the New Year. We have the Santa Claus rally. So, and again, this doesn't happen every year, but again, just to give people kind of a perspective of what we're looking at going forward, green is good. And you see a lot of that on the screen towards those last 2 months of the year.
All right. So if you have questions, give us a call. I want to jump into the meteor topic of today and try to keep this timeline that we have, this 10-minute target for this video, and remind you of the theme that we've been on this year, talking about the acrostic FOUR, FOUR. Watch our previously taped month videos for the F and the O, which we've walked through. Today, we're going to focus in on the U, the US dollar and its impact and why that's something we've been paying attention to this year. So, Chuck, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Let's just go back in history just a little, Michael. Spend a couple minutes here. I think this was a very good depiction of the US dollar. So, post World War II, the war ends in Europe. The Allied nations get together. They bring their economic gurus together in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. That's the upper left-hand corner with the map. They basically said no longer the British pound sterling is going to be the reserve currency. It's going to be the US dollar. Well, the next thought was, how are we going to do that? They basically agreed to take an ounce of gold and peg it at $35 in a fixed amount. Well, it held until that upper middle center where you see a picture of Richard Nixon in 1971. He said, no longer, we don't have enough gold in Fort Knox to support the printing of the US dollar. We're going to decouple them. So in essence, gold began to float in price, as did the dollar. What did it float against? You can see the bottom left, other currencies. So today, the value of the dollar is versus other currencies. Now, as we move to the bottom middle and right, we all know that the dollar has been maligned. It's been besmirched. Why is that? We call it king dollar, but many countries are trying to knock it off its perch. So the big question is it still the reserve currency? We believe it is. The bottom middle, 40% of the world's debt is still issued in US dollars. 90% of every transaction that occurs on either side is the dollar. Now, what has destabilized somewhat, Michael, is that the dollar held in reserve of banks around the world was at 69% and holding steady. The last several years, it's down to 63. Why is that? The bottom right-hand corner, the BRICS countries, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have basically come together to say we want to create a different reserve currency. So we said, as the next slide we'll get to, in the beginning of the year, if the dollar strengthened, and I'll describe this chart, we would remain overweight in US stocks. Any strong currency is a demarcation that the economy within that certain country is moving well, and you would hope its stock market would. So take a look at the green line. It measures the value of the US dollar. That value is depicted on the right vertical column. We start at 101, we go all the way up to 106. The dollar, Michael, has actually appreciated 5% this year versus other currencies. And here's, I think, what our folks can take from this. When the green goes up, the black goes down. Well, what's the black? It's the international stock market. Up in the upper left, it's EFA, that's Europe, Far East, and Asia, which measures stocks outside of the US. There's an inverse relationship. So where we came from the beginning of the year, Michael, we were going to watch this. And if the dollar remains strong, which it has, because the Fed has not backed off on their interest rates, we would underweight international stocks. And we've done that. Now, I'm going to end on this part here, Michael. When the Fed begins to cut rates, which they're likely to do here towards the end of the year, we're going to be looking at international stocks as a protection against the devaluation of the dollar. When the dollar declines, you want to own more international stocks. So It hasn't happened yet. We followed this pattern through the year, but I just wanted to let our investors know that's what we're looking at, and that's the lever that we're going to pull.
Yeah, and so that's something you and I have been talking about in some of our regular meetings and discussing that, really thinking it may not be an issue through the remainder of this year, potentially into
Exactly.
the first part of next year. We are watching the Federal Reserve and what their numbers show. And the unique part about this is you throw in the presidential election that's happening here in November, and it puts maybe a little extra pause on what the Fed wants to do so that they don't get accused of influencing the election and things that take place. So I think we're in for a solid rest of the year in 2024. We are not planning any major changes in our current portfolio. I think they're positioned well, but obviously this is one of those four major trigger points that we are keeping an eye on. And if something should change or move in a different direction than it has been, then we would look to make some adjustments. But for now, it's sit back, relax, enjoy your summer before all the kids get back to school or things get crazy busy this fall. And we'll ride this out till we get past this presidential election. Any final thoughts, Derek or Chuck, that you'd like to add today?
You summed it up really well, Michael. Not for me.
All right, you guys, thanks for being with us, for the time that you invested in us today. May God bless you. I hope you're doing well, and look for us again next month. Take care.